Hello there, everybody. Welcome to SOG tonight. And of course, we are here again. It is Wednesday. So, of course, we are here with the Obi Wan Kenobi review show. Uh, I am your host, Eric Holzman. And yeah, so it's been 5 episodes now. We have one left. It's been a little bit, as we've been talking, it's been a little bit up and down for me, but, mostly good. But we'll get into a little bit. Obviously, we're going to get into more about episode 5 and what actually happened in this action jam-packed one. There a lot happened, but I can't discuss this out on my own. As you know, I've been having Nico Caruso help me. So Nico, come on in. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. A lot better than last week. That's what I'll tease off the bat, which is really good. It was actually had some technical difficulties watching it, but we got through it and was able to get in a rewatch today. And in time for our discussion, we've texted about it a little bit, so I'm excited to finally put all the thoughts out, not only with you but to the world.
Yeah, it was a little crazy because I actually stayed up this time to watch it, which I haven't been doing. But I did because I wanted to see this one before I read anything about it. I wanted to make sure I had a fresh watch before I accidentally hopped on social media and then saw something about it that would spoil me. So, but yeah, it's funny. Right after the show ended, Nico texted me, and so we're talking. For me, that was around, I guess, 20 to 4 in the morning.
Yeah. I always forget that you guys are an hour ahead of us.
But no, it was perfectly fine. Obviously, I was awake. And it was, yeah, this one had a lot going on. I'll say definitely there was a lot to get through. We're gonna unpack it all. I want to thank, of course, everyone who's watching in the comments. Thank you once again for coming on and watching us. We're gonna, go through everything. So, Nico, just before we go in and start talking about what actually happened on the show, was there anything that you expected that didn't happen?
Was there anything I expected that did not happen? No, actually. I will say I expected a way different episode. At least in terms of execution, the concept, I kind of expected. So no, not really. In fact, I think a lot of people, how this one opens, I think a lot of people were thinking, including us, was going to happen last week. Yeah, I wasn't really shocked by anything. How about you?
No, I wasn't. And yes, we'll start right there because the show begins. The episode begins exactly with what we were talking about last week, where we get a flashback scene of when Anakin was a Padawan and him and Obi Wan are having lightsabers. They're sparring basically with lightsaber sparring. And that's kind of the undertone for what we got in the whole show. That this kind of battle they're going on is kind of the underbelly of what's going on in the action in real time now. The one thing I'll say about the flashback scene is that they might have wanted to use a little more de-aging technology on Hayden Christensen because he looked like a very old Padawan.
The oldest Padawan of all time.
Yeah.
I actually, so what's actually kind of funny is not that I disagree with you there, but I didn't mind that he kind of looked older because, sometimes the de-aging can be really distracting and really jarring. So I almost like that they kind of unapologetically went, here's Hayden Christensen and just let him act. It felt a little bit more authentic, which I like, but I won't lie to you. Yeah, no, he did look like they actually made McGregor look a little younger, and they pretty much made him look on par with like a McGregor age. Like I could have argued he looked maybe 30 instead of 41, what he is in real life. But yeah, no, they if they really wanted to sell, oh, here's how he looked like a Padawan, I would use a little bit more technology on him. I will say, actually, to clarify your first question, I expected a flashback, but actually I didn't expect it to be, this is technically like a pre-Attack of the Clones flashback.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because he has his arms, which means it has to be either before or during the offensive Attack of the Clones because his arm's not cut off. So, thought that was cool. We all assumed it would be a really deep Clone Wars one, but this one was really foundational of their relationship and their dynamic, which I really appreciated that they went for this type of flashback. How about you?
Yeah, no, I did. I wasn't sure what they were going to do, but obviously, like we said last week, I knew there was something had to be coming because of what you said about Hayden being such a big presence in the selling of the show and the marketing of the show. That of course we were going to see him, so we finally did. And yeah, it kind of every time you see something like this, it kind of gives a little bit more depth to the prequels to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And I know we have stuff in animation, obviously, that you can go back to, but in live action, it's very cool to see that kind of depth that they're adding to that time period. And because we've gotten so little about it in the show thus far, it was really good to see something foundational, like you said, that they were putting in there to give us more depth into what's going on now and how they were going forward with the show now. So that the beginning of it was great. I thought they got it out of the way right away,
which was smart. I won't lie to you. I had a smile on my face, pretty big smile on my face for that whole time. It was cool because it took me back. Like I texted you, like I saw Attack of the Clones in theaters when I was like 7 or 8, and Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, like he was my hero. At least Hayden Christensen was. It's who you wanted to be. It's who you wanted to look like as a young, Jedi. So I really thought it was cool to see him, and it did bring me back. It's that the really big shot of nostalgia kicked in, and you're like, whoa, I'm kind of right back there. And the choreography between them was great. A lot of that episode 2 stuff, he did the twirl behind his back that a lot of people are talking about. So that was just really cool to see. And I just like the lightsabers in the show. They're so bright. They're so loud. It's what a way to open. I gave him a lot of credit for opening like that. A lot of credit.
Yeah, it was very good. Like I said, it was very good to put that front and center, because I think that was a common complaint people had. They're like, well, where are we going to see something with Anakin?
Yeah.
And we did. So I think that was great. We also got a lot more. We got another step in the evolution of Obi-Wan becoming Obi-Wan again, right? Like he was much more confident in this episode. He was much more the Jedi we remember from the prequels, where we didn't, we hadn't really seen that. We got a little turn to it last episode, and now we got more of that going forward. But this episode really, it had to, because it's the second to last one, so it had to accomplish a lot. And that's probably one of the things we both have agreed on overall through this show. And I'm just going to talk about it right away, because it's clear now that time was a problem with this show.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it to be detrimental to it, because these were the parameters that were agreed to. This is what Disney gave them, I guess. And Lucasfilm gave them to do this, to do the structure of the show. So clearly that has been something that we've both noticed, and it has been, to me, at a detriment to the show. So just a few minutes, speak on that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought this up, because I couldn't agree more. It's some of the writing, and mainly the direction, and just the pacing, and how they're choosing to, it's really the execution of everything. It's I think I texted this to you or someone else. There's a really good story here.
Yep.
But the execution of a lot of it is lacking. And I agree with you. It really holds the show back in certain places, because you can almost see and feel like, okay, they just had to do this to get here, or they really wanted to do something here, but they had to condense it. Like it doesn't feel, and I know by the end of the show, people are going to get tired of me saying this, but really the most complete episode, I'm going to go back to episode 3. That's the one for start to finish. It feels like they actually built and developed something over the runtime that felt natural. And there weren't these like things that they just kept having to make happen, or these things they had to cut and speed up. So I think this was a good episode, but with better execution and maybe more time or whatever, it could have been a great to a phenomenal episode, right? That's how I feel about it. And right now the show is a pretty good show, but I can't call it a great show. It has great moments, but to summarize it, there's a great story being told, and there's great pieces, the way it's being executed and actually put together and presented is lacking in my humble opinion. I think a lot of people will disagree with that though, which is totally fine. I mean, I always word something as my own opinion. Everything I just said is my opinion. I do see a lot of people considering this like the best episode of Star Wars TV. I do not feel that way whatsoever, but I'm really glad that some are feeling that way. So yeah, it's really the way it's being put together is lacking in certain areas. But then they hit you with the Hayden Christensen flashback with the whoosh whoosh flip, and that kind of makes me excited and kind of makes me forget everything else. But in this episode, 100% the highs were way higher than the lows.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously we're going to go through some of the very, very high moments in this show because there are a lot. It is a show that kind of brings everyone back together who we've met so far as well. I feel like everyone is in this episode with Haja. I think that's his name, right? And, he's back. So we're seeing everyone that we've met so far in the show, which is good because there are times where in shows like this where we meet a character that we never see him again because they don't have time. So just really quickly, I'm going to bring up some of the comments that we had in the room because they've really been vocal this time. So Matt doesn't agree with us. He feels like the shows. He doesn't feel that the episodes are rushed. He doesn't feel like the show's been cheated.
Okay, Matt, I respect that take.
Yep. So here we go. They feel like they don't know what they want to do with some of the characters, which is something we've discussed.
This one I agree with.
And both your dad and Chris Evans and everyone is saying what we kind of discussed, that it probably should have been a movie.
You can really make, with the material we have so far, you can really make, especially seeing the way they worked in that flashback today, you could just kept sprinkling that throughout the whole movie and pieces of it. Like, I'm not saying like a 2 hour, I think like a 2 hour, 25 minute movie is more accurate because there is a lot in there. But if it really makes you think, it just makes you think a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like Matt's bringing this up again. We have discussed this, that it was the original plan was for it to be a film. So you can kind of see, I think as I've watched the show now, I can kind of see the bones, because we've talked about this, the bones of a movie. Yeah. Where you have, if you're going to introduce all these characters, it would have worked to me much better in that kind of a setting. I don't know if 2 hours would have been long enough. I think it might have had to be 2.5, maybe 2:45. But I think you could have done that in this kind of a in this set, even if it was a Disney Plus film, if they want to do that, they could have done that. But they didn't. And like you said, the show has been good, not great. I agree with that. I do feel like these characters, some of these characters are getting shortchanged because, like we discussed last week with Wade, we just don't care about them.
Wade, man.
I'm sorry, I hate to bring up Wade again, but and that's fun. It's funny because that's the last thing they show you on the what happened last week, like the previously.
Yeah, man, it's like we're supposed to be sitting with it. I'm like, no. They do a great job with another character later in the episode in terms of actually giving that some weight, because that's how you're supposed to build a moment like that, in my opinion. But shout out to Wade. He saved Obi Wan, so we're watching you, sir. I hope you're.
So the show is still on because of Wade. That's
the show exists because of Wade. So #thanks Wade.
All right, so just very quickly, we've gone over some of them, but what were some of your other highlights from this show?
I just touched on it. Aside from the opening flashback, I really liked, on this whole show, I really enjoyed Tala, and I really liked her death. Really effective use of the line, "May the Force be with you," which, is a line that in Mando we haven't really heard that much because it's like, "This is the way" is their big emotional line. Right. So to hear a character kind of say that to Obi-Wan was really cool. The way he and Leia and everyone respond to her death was really nice. She had a lot of nice development. She was willing to lay down on the wire there at the end. Her robot as well. There was a nice moment, but her droid, I'm a sucker for droid deaths as well. So that was a really nice moment. And then I'll let you talk about some of the Vader stuff in specific, but I like that the flashback with Anakin and Obi-Wan had a lot of parallels with some of the way Vader acts and why he's so angry. So now you're seeing like flashes of that when we've seen Vader throughout the series. I like they showed you the first signs of it. And there's even a little bit of that anger and aggression that he kind of screws himself over at the end of the episode because he's trying to go 0 to 100 and he's clearly not focusing, and that other transport can get away. Some people might not like that and they think it's convenient, but I actually saw that as being consistent. Like I said, with that flashback, is he went in there, he ripped that ship down, he ripped it open, he was so angry, and by the time he noticed that other one, it was gone. So he was really blinded by his rage and aggression, what Obi-Wan says. So those are my highlights.
Yeah, that is. I just want to point out too what you just talked about, that scene with Vader, kind of, so angry that he's not seeing everything going on. It's very similar to what happens like when they first fight Dooku on Attack of the Clones, right? He jumps in before Obi-Wan tells him, let's do it together, and he goes faster, and he's just not thinking clearly because he's just so angry. That a lot of us, that happens to a lot of us at times as well. We get angry, we just see red, or we're not really processing everything that's going on. But that happens. I want to talk about a technical thing that was a highlight for me, is the lightsaber fighting without a lightsaber.
Oh, so good.
Right? Like that was fantastic. I know, that was fantastic. First we see it with Obi-Wan, and then we see it with Vader in his fight with Reva, which we'll get to because she has a very, very large role in this. And she was another one of my highlights, but I'll get to that in a minute. That was fantastic. It was like you're watching, I don't know, a dance. It's like you're watching kind of a dance with how they did it and the steps and the choreography. And I love that stuff. That anytime they bring something new into Star Wars, I love it. So like when we got Kylo stopping the laser in the beginning of The Force Awakens, when he just turns around and stops, like that was fantastic. And so we have all of these things, and now we see something like this. So they still kind of keep us on our toes with all the new Force abilities that we can that they reveal slowly in each media that they do, each successive media that they do. So yeah, my other highlight in this was Reva. This is the first episode where I actually enjoyed watching her character
the whole time.
Yes, from beginning to end. Moses Ingram did a fantastic job in this one. She was excellent. For the first time, I actually cared about her on the screen. Obviously, what we had been talking about came out to be true, which I think we all believe, that she was obviously a youngling. And that scene with her and Obi-Wan through the wall, where you get a little bit more of the reveal of what she's doing, why she's doing what she's doing, which she's kind of double agenting in that way, that she is part of the Empire, but now she really wants to get Anakin back for what happened. So I love all of that stuff in the build up. Those are probably my main two highlights from this one. One, I'll go quickly with just the kind of like a low light for me was I feel like Leia was kind of not important in some sense. They gave her something to do, but it really didn't matter to me. Like, I don't know how you felt about that, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, that was a low light for me too. It's just kind of it's the interesting thing of like, okay, we got to shove Leia real quick. Let's put her in there. Then we cut away and cut back 3 times. And the third time she finally realizes Lola is able to open the top, while everyone on the bottom is just kind of scattering. So some of that, like that choice was a little wonky. For me, actually, I really liked Reva in this too. I totally agree. It's just some of the, ironically, some of the decisions around her like didn't help her case. Like there's and this goes back to just the technical pieces of this show, like being so, like, I would love to sit down and be like, this was the take? Could you only do this take because you didn't have time, or like we talked about, is like the stormtroopers are shooting, and I know what the comeback is going to be, but I'm just going to say it. The stormtroopers are shooting the blast door. They're waiting, right? They're playing the waiting game. All right, let's go in through this one door, and if they get away, they get away, right? It's that lack of urgency all of a sudden. Then she's talking to Obi-Wan, and then just opens the door with her lightsaber. I'm like, why didn't we do that before? Then I know she was going to, in that moment, she decides indirectly, I'm going to kind of let you go so I could get after Vader. But to bring him out there with all the stormtroopers, and then to like have them take him back inside, and then he gets away, and then he has more time to talk to everyone. I'm like, just a weird choice. And this is my biggest low light, and most people will disagree with me. Most people will disagree with me. I don't think she should have been alive at the end of the episode. I think she should be dead. I think Vader would have killed her. And you can throw a lot at me to try to convince me otherwise. But with how angry he is on this show, when it is revealed that, oh, he knew that she was going to do this. First of all, in the comics and everything, he's brutal. He's killed Inquisitors for less. A couple friends of mine were telling me otherwise, but then some friends told me this way. Like, he's brutal with the Inquisitors. So the fact that she was going to try to kill him and he didn't just offer there was very strange. We talked about limbs getting cut off was a Star Wars thing. Now I guess it's through the chest and you can live. It is what it is. It's Star Wars. Like, you kind of calmed me down from that last night. But at the same time, he must know, if he knows that she was the youngling, then he knows that she knows he's Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
And that I do not believe Vader would let that live and let her be alive at the end. That is me as a fan, and that has nothing to do with canon. And this is maybe a hashtag Nikko nitpick, but I'll own it. It's sometimes you watch something and go, I can't believe that. That I can't believe. And then her kind of learning about Luke. So now she's the only other person in the galaxy who knows that maybe Luke and Leia are twins. So it's like, what are we going to do next episode? That made me cautious. Is like, she's going to have to die next episode, I think. Or if she's alive, well, then she's the best secret keeper of all time. Thank you. Vader would not have let her live. And you can even show me a comic panel or a video game where Vader says, I will let those live who try to kill me. And I still won't believe it, because it's not, he's so angry on this show. Like, we saw him wash those people in the street for someone, because not only did she try to kill him, she let Obi-Wan get away another time. Yeah. So now he's chasing Obi-Wan again. At that point, come on. So that's just me. Is that too much of a nitpick? I don't know. But how did you feel about that ending? Because that was the only thing that actually played worse for me last night than it did today. Today, I let it go a lot more. Like, last night, I was more like, yeah, the episode was okay. And I really let some of that go today. So what do you think about that?
That moment, I kind of was there too. I'm like, how is she alive? Like, that doesn't make sense. And then you see the Grand Inquisitor come back. So you're like, well, he's still alive. So I guess they're being consistent, at least with getting stabbed in that part of your body doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of was. I mean, knowing that there's one episode left and she obviously has a role in it.
Yeah,
it made you like in my head, I went there right away. I'm like, well, clearly he wants to use her now. Because he didn't see the Luke thing. She found it.
No, yeah.
So whatever, I'm assuming that whatever her role is now, whether she's going to Tatooine, which the show ends with, we see Luke in bed. So
yeah, she has to be.
So I'm assuming that's where she's headed, or she's going to try and go there. And Vader's probably going to try and chase, which that for me, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but that for me is like the suspense now for the next episode. But we'll go. So I don't know what's going to happen. But that did kind of, that was a little jarring. But when she didn't die, I'm like, oh, I told you last night. I'm like, maybe he kind of did it to the side. It wasn't really in the middle.
Yeah, so maybe she got stabbed somewhere. I don't know,
a little bit to the right, more not so that near the heart. So he got, like, I'm trying to think anatomically now, like how could someone survive this?
I mean, I know she's an Inquisitor and she's got the Force, but man, Kylo Ren and Han. I mean, Han was done like that. He pushed him. Yes, he fell too, but
yeah.
Usually the through the body doesn't work. You're donezo. So, but hey, you're right. At least when they showed the Grand Inquisitor, they're like, well, at least they're consistent that you don't necessarily die. In this story, if you get stabbed through the body, you live.
Yeah, man. Poor Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon.
I was gonna say, poor Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Master couldn't do it, but Reva Inquisitor is alive. So,
well, this is a good take. Here we go. She's gonna live, and they're gonna give her own show or game or something like that.
Can I actually comment on this? Because my friend Leo, shout out to Leo, who I think is this you, Leo? Wait, tell me if it's you, because you said I would know if it was you.
I guess it may be.
That is him. Yeah, Spartan Under his bed. Okay, so I was gonna talk about you, but it's actually me talking to you. He said he's played the games and he's actually read a lot of the comic stuff and the novels, and he shared that he's seeing a lot of like the Fallen Order stuff in this game, and he thinks that Reva's about to be this is kind of her backdoor pilot for a lot of appearances. So Leo, if you want to put in the comments like what you think it's going to be, but I agree. We were both kind of worried about, you and me, Eric, that the show and him, that the show is going to kind of end with basically her being sort of a main player, and it wasn't really just going to come down to Obi-Wan and Vader. It's going to be Obi-Wan, Vader, Reva, etc. I just hope the execution's good. I just hope the execution's good. I'm still cautious about her knowing the Luke stuff, because like we said, and I talked to my other friend Zach about this, we're more like, I'm more flexible with certain parts of canon, but we talked about this last week. The one piece of canon I'm not going to vibe with is if there's more people in this universe who know of Luke and Leia and that they are specifically Vader's kids. That to me, outside of like Owen and outside of Obi-Wan, if that continues to grow, I don't know, that just won't. And that's maybe me being a purist or a toxic fan, but that won't sit well with me. Or if they see each other, I don't want Luke and Leia in the same. Like Leia better be back on Alderaan next episode. She better not be on Tatooine.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he finally returns her to Bail. And then the action moves to Tatooine, whatever, because he's kind of because that was his argument in the beginning, right? Like, I have to watch Luke. That was his argument to them before he went to search for Leia. So it would make sense now for him to say, yeah, I did this, I'm going to go back. Yeah. But Emmett brought up a good point, because we've been talking about this. We haven't seen him yet. We haven't even heard him really. And they've been setting up the talking between, like, the communing between them. They've been setting it up. They set it up early in the show. So are we going to get a payoff there? Maybe it's going to be at the end, the very end, like Emmett said. I hope we get something there. What do you think?
I don't know, because I really thought we would get this. Maybe it's the last scene. Maybe it's the payoff to everything. Like, after this, he's going to get to talk to Qui-Gon. I definitely thought Qui-Gon was going to be part of his journey back, part of his journey to being ready to confront Vader again. So I don't know, but we got the Hayden one, so check box.
Yeah.
There's got to be something Qui-Gon, because they did lay breadcrumbs in those first three.
Yep.
So I would think I think it's solidified we're going to get it. I just don't know what capacity, and if it's like a nice bookend thing, or if it's like the only thing I hope it's not is, I hope it's not like a credit thing. I hope it's not like a credit scene, like a tease, or I hope it's not just like it ends where it's like Obi, and it's where like you just hear his voice and then the show ends. Like I want.
Oh, that would suck.
I want an interaction for them. I want an interaction for them. I do. And is that a little selfish? Yeah, but I really want that.
Yeah, I wanted my Dagobah thing that I think I messaged you.
Oh, I forgot about that this week.
That rumor that I had heard. Yeah, I kind of want that. I thought that would be cool if that were to happen. But to get Yoda and Qui-Gon and him in the same screen would be kind of a cool thing. But yeah, I agree with you. If they're going to bring Qui-Gon back, I want it to be something substantial. I don't just want it to be this kind of silly one-off thing. You're like, oh my god, and then boom, fade to black. There's nothing happened. That would suck. But yeah, I mean, back to Reva again. There's a lot of your friend Leo's giving us lots of input,
I love it.
So I'm enjoying this. But yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen to her. I hope where in the beginning I couldn't care less. Now I do think she's gonna die. I don't think she's gonna survive. In my opinion, I don't, because like you said, she obviously knows Luke and Leia are twins or brother and sister now. So if she does live, then that completely changes everything we know going forward.
It changed a lot. I think they did a nice job. They did do a nice job with, I think, that reveal. Because while I think we saw coming, just the rage in her eyes, and when she challenges Obi-Wan back, which I really like, when she's like, well, you were his master, like, why didn't you stop him, why didn't you do anything? So there's that anger at Obi-Wan too. It makes a lot of sense. And then, man, I give them credit. I don't know how I actually feel about this, but they showed a lot of youngling deaths.
Yeah.
Those made for her when it showed the parallel of Vader walking up, and then it cut to, Anakin walking up with the 501st clones. I thought that was a really cool edit. That was a really cool choice for the scene, for her to be like the frightened little girl again. She did a really nice job in this episode. And when she's fighting, you talk about her performance earlier, and one was that choreography was outstanding between her and Vader, but just her rage when she was fighting him, she sold that really well. Like, she obviously was in the fight of her life when he was the one kind of dancing, and she was the one who was really trying to give it all she had. So I give Moses Ingram a lot of credit for that scene. And while I do think she should be dead based on Vader, and who was great in this episode, by the way. I mean, a show really is always on when it's Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yes.
Because it is kind of what we're here for, but just the emotion and the moments they give to both of them are so strong. It's so compelling, right? It's almost magnetic. But I digress. As much as I think she should be dead, I am intrigued and happy for her that she's going to fight another day in episode 6. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the one thing about their encounter that kind of put me off, I'm like, she's not using the Force at all. Like, we've seen her use it, so why did, like, I just want to kind of balance the scales a bit. Obviously, she's not as powerful as Vader, but it would have been cool to see a little bit more of her using the Force in their little confrontation. But I mean, where I was with you on I definitely think he would have killed her. I think that was part of the whole underlying thing, that his anger always makes him do these things where he loses sight of the big picture, where they're trying to say now, okay, yes, he probably would have killed her and he wanted to, but he knows he still needs her for some reason, for whatever he needs.
And that's a good point. Like, that is the point that I think, now earlier I said there's nothing that could convince me, but that's a point that I could accept, right? Is he still wants to use her. Now, if the next episode, if they don't interact at all, like if she doesn't lead him anywhere, I'll be like, okay, that's kind of weird. But I'm assuming that won't be the case. I'm assuming these 3 will be intertwined next week.
Yeah.
At least I think that's a safe assumption. I don't know.
Right. Like, she's kind of become the third wheel, right? Like, she's like the third. She's kind of become the third wheel in this story, whereas they brought in all the other different characters, and, like, we got more from Broken too, which I thought was cool. I wanted to mention. Every time you see O'Shea Jackson, you're kind of like, yeah, let's get more of him on screen, because it's just really cool to see him. I think he's a really cool guy, so I'm like, yeah, let's bring him out.
Yeah, right. But
just have him on screen. But she's such a big part of this specific story that she has to be involved somehow next week. It's got to be Obi-Wan, Vader, her, Leia, and Luke in some kind of form.
Because I don't know what the runtime's gonna. What was the runtime? I
hope it's an hour. It was only like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's 40 minutes. Because what my worry is, it's another 40-minute episode, and they're gonna do, like, Vader and Obi-Wan are gonna have their thing, and then he's got to go to Tatooine to confront Reva. Just Obi-Wan, like, that would be, I think, a lot to try to accomplish.
Yeah.
We'll say the stage is set for a pretty crazy. So I want your thoughts on this. So, of course, we're not canonites, right? We're not canon Nazis here, you and I. There's some things that we're not cool with, but in general. So when it comes to that New Hope line, which has been changed, but it doesn't matter, don't you feel like, though, in the context of that line, like, you feel like Obi-Wan has to win, right?
Yeah, or
like, he's gonna definitely win, or it's a stalemate that frustrates Vader. Like, there's no way Vader wins, and the consolation prize is that he just saved Luke. Like, the way they're building him, right? It would feel weird if he lost.
Right. I feel like round 1 went to him, obviously. Round 2 went to Vader, obviously, and then this next one probably has to go to him. Just because of the show, you're just putting in your head, I'm like, the show's called Obi-Wan, so you're kind of You know, like it's kind of would make sense that he gets this final win, whether it's a win of great magnitude or a win just where he can keep Luke safe or whatever the case may be. Those are the parameters I'm seeing it happen. I don't think obviously he's going to maim him at all again or do any kind of crazy thing where he really hurts Vader. But I do think in whether it's an actual win or a philosophical win, I guess, you know, that I do think Obi-Wan gets the win in this one because like you said, that line in New Hope, which has been changed now forever, no matter how you want to look at it, it's got to get some kind of payoff.
My friend Zach, shout out to Zach, had a really he's like us, or he's not really concerned with canon, but he did tell me something that like I didn't even think about. He goes, yeah, when you really think about this, it doesn't really bother me, but now with the amount of time and the relationship that like Leia and Obi-Wan formed, like, man, when he dies in A New Hope, she is not phased. Like, she could care less.
That is perfect.
So he's like, yes, I'm really letting go of canon, because if you go from this to A New Hope, you're going to be really upset at Leia. And I'm like, I didn't even think about that.
And that's the other thing. Everyone's kind of like, oh, well, she doesn't know it's him because he's Obi-Wan and she knows him as Ben. I'm like, but then how come when Luke goes to save her, he says, I'm here with Ben Kenobi, and she's all excited? If she, you know,
right,
if that wasn't the Obi-Wan she was looking for, then what, you know?
And having some people called him like Tala in front of Leia called him Obi-Wan, and he goes, no, it's just Ben. So like people are calling him Obi-Wan in front of Leia. She knows who the guy is.
Right. Yeah. So it changes obviously that movie that started the whole thing.
So, but it's all good.
It's all, you can explain it away. Like there's always ways to explain things away. But that would be a little more tough now with this show. So yeah, this is fair. You know, she just lost her planet, so that her home, which she really didn't. That didn't last.
She doesn't react to that either. Though. She doesn't really react to anything in that first movie. The only thing I could think of, like, is maybe, I mean, and I don't think they're gonna do this because it would be one of those like you shouldn't do this because the way you've built him on the show. But maybe she gets like hurt again, or when Vader attacks, something happens to her and she like forgets. But I don't foresee that happening.
No, it's not like they did with 3PO and they say have his mind wiped.
Oh, have his mind wiped. No,
you can't do that with a person.
He force wiped her mind. Obi-Wan's like, you won't remember this little one, but thank you. It's like,
I know, right? Like she's force sensitive too. I don't think that would work.
Yeah, so it wouldn't work. Yeah, she's force sensitive. I mean, you can't get away with that either.
This is a good point. I didn't think of this, but it kind of does put when because he says in Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. I'm assuming we're gonna get some kind of conversation there. And maybe, and I just thought of this now, but maybe the fact that maybe this is the first time he senses that his children are alive, and that's why, you know,
that could be an interesting piece.
Yeah,
I have no problem with Vader knowing the kids are out there,
right?
Because clearly that happened somewhere in the writing between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, you know,
right?
But I have no problem if he knew it and he just didn't realize it was, you know, Luke and Leia. The only issue I have is like the thing that's tough about the way Jedi and Sith are written in everything is when you see scenes of them being able to like sense each other and like read each other's thoughts and minds. And then, like, you go, well, Vader went years, like, not really knowing he had kids, but they're, like, of him. You know what I mean? It's one of those, like, I don't know, like, going back to this, they're clearly remembering or sensing each other in the bacta tanks. And then in episode 3, Vader knows Obi-Wan is in that town. That's why he's killing everyone. And then, like, when Obi-Wan goes to the ship in episode 4, like he doesn't come down until he's already gone. Like there's just some but I'm not just talking about like this show is one example of in video games and the movies and stuff of them like sensing, but then at times they don't. So I guess there's a lot of factors, I would say, but
I mean, the over prevailing theory has always been, when it comes to Vader and what he knows and stuff, is that the Emperor is blocking the information. Like, that's always been right.
Yeah.
So that's always been the overarching thing with their relationship, and that he could just be blocking him from even knowing. Because I mean, you have to assume, even if he's this evil guy now, if he knew he had children, like, he'd probably want them.
Different story.
So that's what I mean. Like, that's always been the thing. They're like, well, the Emperor just blocks. He's had control of his mind now for so long that he just blocks whatever he wants to keep from his mind. And that's what he says, like, at the end of Sith, when he says, in your anger, you killed Padme. Yeah. So in his mind, he's probably thinking, well, then the kids died too.
Yeah.
So I know we're going back revisionist history to all this stuff now, but this show has done that, right? It's made us think about all these other, which is a cool thing about it, because it's a time period that I think all of us thought we were over with.
Yeah.
And this show has really brought us back to that point. And that's one of the things I'll say about it. And that's one of probably the best things so far, 5 episodes through now, is that this time period that we have really outside of the animation is just, we haven't had much. We finally got something. And
it's also cool. Making the prequels better.
Yep.
At least moments of the prequels better. Like it is. Because like you said earlier, great point that you brought up earlier. I wanted to comment on it, but is that you can do these things in animation, but then when you do something in live action, like that flashback scene, it just holds so much more weight. It just does so much more.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Just yeah, I really like that point about when you see it in live action, it hits a whole different way. So yeah, it is making the prequels better. Not all of the prequels, like not every part of it, but it's making aspects like pretty well.
No, well, like that their sparring session does make Attack of the Clones a little bit better now, and that movie needs all the help it could get. So that I'm fine with that. That's been great. That again, we finally, like you said, got some Anakin as Anakin, not Darth Vader.
Wait, Leia is a droid and they wipe her mind. I'm over here. Oh, is that easier? I'm over here spitting quotes for free. Yes. Oh, none of them are getting pinned. That's why the dark side. Zeddy, you're connecting all the dots. Classic.
Connecting all the dots. Using all the quotes from the film.
Good point by Chris, though. Like, Lucas couldn't even keep up with all the continuity he started when he did the prequels. That's fair.
Yes. No, it is. It's true.
Canon is ongoing. And
it's like the X-Men films. See? Like the X-Men films.
Yeah. Well, it's those had a whole, like, at least those you could say they had Days of Future Past that just flipped the script on everything. It's all the same story. Just things just keep happening.
Right. So you mentioned Tala, and I kind of didn't talk about it, but you're right. Her death was definitely an earned one. Like that's probably the best way of all the characters that we've seen so far. I feel like she's had the most development, and where we actually kind of got attached to her because she's been so helpful. She's been willing to put herself on the line numerous times. So the fact that she finally her last moment is her doing that to save them. It kind of gave me with the droid. It kind of gave me the droid in Solo when and then in Rogue One, KSO4, right? When it kind of gave me those kind of feelings when I saw what the droid did. It was very, very cool. And again, like, what's the thing? Star Wars is just I forget what it is, like poetry that repeats itself or something like that, someone says. So it just kind of brought all that. Yeah. It kind of brought all that back to my mind watching that. But I'm sad she's dead because I really like the actress.
So am I. I like the actress and I dug the character, but I'll tell you this too. It was a good death, and I think it was a really good choice by them because it gives the story a little bit more weight and it makes us feel for the character more. And like you said, when this show ends, and all these people are alive, our mind immediately goes, okay, where are they? But I I'm glad they made her journey worthwhile, and she kind of had an arc that closed, and she got to do this one last thing that's arguably the most important thing she's ever done on the path. And because she was someone who joined the Empire, so she kind of has consequences, and there's consequences of this life. And yeah, that was a really nice sacrifice.
Yeah, it was. It was a good payoff for the character.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only thing that bothered me really in this one, the most thing, was Leia.
Yeah, because she didn't do much.
No, she didn't. They had to give her something to do. So like, oh, go up in the vent and take 7 hours to do.
Just take 7 hours. Why O'Shea Jackson's like, come on, man, like we got to get out of here.
It could have been done probably right away, but and of course, right away she finds Lola, and then she finds the tracking.
She knows exactly what to take. Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those. It was one of those.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one thing. Yes, she is. Overall, I've loved seeing her. It was something.
Great.
It was something I never thought I wanted to see, and now that we got it, I'm so happy we got it. So
we need it. We need more. I would take her own show of her just running around on Alderaan, like screwing with people.
They should do a kids show. Right? They should.
I think it would be good. It would be smart. It would be so smart. Like they're doing the I Am Groot special, right? On Disney Plus. Well, why not do the Leia one?
Yeah. All right. So here we go. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but this is the last thing we're going to discuss. Yes. So what are your expectations for the finale? And what, if any, what possibilities do you see happening? Some of them we kind of talked about, but expand on it a little more, I guess.
This is going to sound so bad, and I don't mean it to. But it's consistent with my thoughts on the show overall, because now we're 5 in.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very similarly about like 2 or 3 of the episodes, and there's only one that I truly think is great. I'm tempering myself to where I legitimately have no expectations.
Okay.
I'm trying to make myself have no expectations. My only expectation is they're going to fight again, and I think it's going to be really cool and emotional. And something with Reva and Luke and also Obi-Wan is going to be very nice and emotional. Those are my only expectations, and my expectation is that the episode is going to be just good again. If it is great or spectacular, I'm going to be jumping around tomorrow. But I've had to do that. It's just me that's me as an audience member of this show and where I'm at, which sounds like I'm putting myself through a lot of mental gymnastics. I am, but it's okay. It's how I fan sometimes. So I have little to no expectations. I just wanted to wrap up in a way that is consistent with episodes 1, 2, and 5 at least. If it's 3 or higher, we're good. If it's like episode 4, I'm going to be very angry. So, which I doubt, because clearly 4 got us to 5, and 5 really got us to 6. So, possibilities though are crazy, but I'm not going to go there. Possibilities are another flashback. Now a Clone Wars one. Qui-Gon, so I don't know.
Yes.
Only one take in there. I love this quote. My man, Matt. Only when I'm taking in a small suitcase. Small overnight bag for next week.
Yeah, my expectations are, let's see. And I've thought about this, but one of my expectations going into the show was by the end of the show, will we see them older, like Luke and Leia older? Some actors coming and playing them a little bit older, where we see a kind of a bridge to when we finally see them, obviously, in The New Hope. But because they've kind of talked about maybe doing a second season, I don't think they would have done that if they did something like that. So
that's a good point.
Let's remove that. That was one of my expectations going into this series and how it was going to end. But I'm really just expecting it to be the best episode. That I think is the best way I can explain it. Which is probably, like you said, is probably silly for me to think that because three was so good.
But it should be, right?
Yeah.
It should be. My only worry in thinking that way is how many will actually hold on. I was gonna say how many See, this is what Leo and we talked about today. That's what I'm afraid of. And you and I talked about that last week. Is I hope it doesn't end in a way where like, oh, we have to keep going. It's we could keep going. I was about to say most of the Disney Plus finales underwhelm, but the Star Wars ones, Boba Fett was a little wonky, but both Mando finales were really strong. Not just for the Luke thing. I mean, the episode leading up to Luke was fantastic, and that emotion with Grogu and Din was outstanding. And the first finale was great too. There was more emotion with IG and taking the helmet off to heal. Like, so the Star Wars finales and Boba Fett had some nice moments, but mostly the Star Wars finales have hit. So, yeah. And I'm still, but if the episode is great, it proves my theory from last week that they literally had the two confrontations and then they just wrote around them. Which is like, it is what it is at this point. Like, it's where they said, okay, they're going to fight once and it's going to be like he loses and then they're going to fight again and he wins. Now we got to make episodes around.
Yeah, right. We have to fill in the gaps.
So, yeah.
Chris, you're right. It should the finale should always be the topper, the icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae, whatever cliche you want to use. The finale should be that, especially for something like this, because before they threw in the idea of a possibility of this continuing, we all thought this was just a one-shot deal, that we're getting this show about Obi Wan Kenobi that's going to lead us into A New Hope, which I really, really hope is the case, because I don't need more of this. It's been great. It's been great to have, but I don't need more of this story.
Yeah, I don't.
Because again, we got some on Rebels. Like, it's all connected. So we saw Obi-Wan again on Rebels where he fights Darth Maul again, and you kind of have that continuing. He's there, and he's there, and he's been around. But this should be just this. Let's just top it off. Let's just end it. Wow. Look at Matt. Here we go.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. Okay. But, yeah, Zeddy, you're right. It should be the finale. It should lead us up into A New Hope and where we're going there.
I was going to say something like very disrespectful, but I didn't want to, because they have done, because Deborah Chow and the team, I think, have done a good enough job. At times I think they didn't do the best job, but mostly they did a good job. But when you said, I don't know if we need more, I would say, well, I'll take another one if it's a different team. If we get John and Dave over here, maybe I'll gladly take in season 2. Because right now though, they're really, I mean, it's kind of, I still don't put this show near either season of The Mandalorian, and maybe I'm too much of a Mando protector, maybe I'm too much of a Mando gatekeeper, but when you look at that Mandalorian team, I mean, that team is polished, not just Favreau and Dave, but when you look at Rick Fuyama and Bryce Dallas Howard and Chow in season 1 and Taika in season 1 and some more of the season 2 direct. I mean, Dave, he did direct season 2 episode, and then of course John's in there. That team is so polished. They're so polished. And Boba Fett, you saw all the different cooks in the kitchen, and then the Mando episodes are still the strongest technically because it's Dave and Bryce. So, and then you look at this one where like episode 3 is really strong. Some will argue that this episode is very, very strong from a direction standpoint. And I'll give them like on paper some of it, but some of the execution is wonky. Let's just be objective about it. But this one, you see kind of the ebb and flow of it too. So, which is, shocking, because I thought Shaw was really, really strong in season 1. And that's no disrespect to her, but maybe, like you said, also we have to think about maybe there were cards that she was dealt. And
yes. Well, like I said, the biggest one to me still is the time. I can even... The amount of episodes we got. I can even make that complaint about Book of Boba Fett, even though I have bigger problems with that show. Outside of that.
Yeah, this is better than that one. 100%.
Yeah, but you can say that. Well, you're given a block, and they really should have been given. This show should have been 8, maybe even 10 episodes to me.
Long. Yeah,
because of now knowing what they wanted to add in and what they were trying to do.
Yes.
You just know we needed more time with these characters to develop. We needed more time to care about them. It's very rushed, and that's why the direction has been so weird and probably weaker, because she knows, well, I have to get to this point.
Yeah. Why do you think Disney Plus got hooked on the 6?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wanda was 9. Like, is it money? Like, Wanda was 9. My guess is it's because they are starting to pump out so many shows and they have to do 6, but then they let Boba be 7 and Mando is both 8. Both times, right?
I know.
8. So I'm sitting there going, okay, why did it need to just be 6? Because I do think, actually, what's funny is we're all saying it could have been a 2-hour movie. But I think with everything they're trying to do, like you're saying, could have been more. And actually, this story and some of these episodes with more time to breathe and a little more stuff to do, it was probably a lot stronger. Like you said, at least 8. This is a stronger show. I know we'll never see it, but I promise you, and you'll agree, as you've been saying, at least 8 episodes, I can tell you it would be a stronger show.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a stronger show by far.
Right. I mean, if we all went into this knowing it was going to be Obi-Wan Vader, the crux of the show, that's what it was going to be. And if that's what they stuck to, then maybe 6 episodes would have worked. But then that goes back to your line of thinking, well, they had the 2 battles and they just wrote around it. And then they just started throwing these other characters in because they had to flesh out and give more meat, I guess, to the story than just those 2. So, and also let's not be foolish here. They're world building as well. They're adding more characters, build more of a Star Wars world and add more to the franchise. So you can't have all these things this show is trying to accomplish, but there's just not enough time for it to be a traditional series where The Mandalorian, like Chris brought up a great point. We didn't know what to expect. There was no expectations from it. It came out the box, and we already know these characters, right? We know Obi-Wan, we know Vader, we know all of these guys. So we have expectations built in from the beginning because we just know who they are.
Yes, he's got a very good point there. I would add, though, not to like huge argue, but I would also just slightly argue, if you do go back and watch those 2 seasons, I mean, it flows perfectly from 1 to 8 both times. Yeah. Both times it flows really. The only one I've ever argued was the episode 7 before the finale of season 2, when they go to the planet and they have to and they're doing the disguises and stuff, just because I said the urgency is not there.
Right.
We're kind of taking our time sneaking through the forest in that place when what if Grogu's dead? That was my only thing. But the execution and the meaning of that episode, when he not to die, he literally, he's not hurt, but he had to take his helmet off. And there was great development for Bill Burr's character too.
Yes.
So that's where that episode makes up from that lack of urgency, was just the writing in that one. So I do agree with you, Chris, though. There was no expectation. And then Grogu and everyone took us by storm, but the way they move that show, and it's because they don't have to. And here's why it's so good. They never really take you off Mando and Grogu for too long. And when the other characters come in, they're perfectly supporting. This show is consistently trying to build Reva to be another piece.
Yep.
And that's where you need more time, or that's where you needed to do it a little bit differently, in my opinion. And then you got Vader in the background every now and then. So when you can't have it be, that's why 3 is so focused, is because even though Reva and people are in there, it's mainly Obi-Wan and Leia the whole time, and this steady build of each event gets bigger and more tense up until the big climax. Yes. I don't want to keep rambling.
No, it's okay. Zeddy, it's funny you bring up Duel of the Fates. I actually hear it when I listen to the radio. I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and when they do, Duel of the Fates is the song they use for their radio promos. So it's funny that you bring that up, because it's actually there in the radio promos for that. And Evan, this is kind of a good way to kind of lead into the next show. The last question, he says, why won't Vader know where Obi-Wan is after that?
That's because I don't think they're going to Tatooine.
Okay.
Because that's the other thing. And I mean, I'm glad he brought this up. then you have such this weird idea that Vader would know there's something on Tatooine then, and he would need to go back, and he wouldn't wait the 9 more years to come. He never goes back. He wouldn't wait all that. He wouldn't never go back if he knows there's something there.
Right.
So I think what's really going to happen is they're going to fight somewhere else. And then Obi-Wan's got to go to Tatooine to stop Reva.
Right.
My guess.
Yeah, that sounds more logical.
The fight on Tatooine with Vader and Obi-Wan is masterfully poetic.
Yep.
But then Emmett's got a point. Well, why would he never come back? Why would he?
And he would know Luke is there.
He would feel a Force sensitive being there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised he hasn't clocked Leia yet, even though she kind of suppressed hers. But the fact he hasn't clocked Leia yet, he's been close enough.
Yes.
To Leia to clock the Force sensitive.
A presence I haven't felt since.
A presence. Presence I haven't felt.
Okay, Matt, we're kicking you out now. Get out. No, I'm kidding. You like what you like, man. That's fine.
You might be the only. Actually, no. From what I've seen on Twitter today, you're not the only person, and that both makes me happy for you all that you love the show so much, but it also concerns me because both seasons of Mandalorian are like Star Wars master. It truly, yes. I think they're both Star Wars masterpieces.
They are. They are. But that's always been my argument with people when they defend this show. Again, I don't hate it. I've enjoyed it. I've had a really good time with it. But my argument has always been The Mandalorian is so good. It's just really, really good.
And it looks better. And it just looks better. Like the cinematography. Hard. I know it's Greg Fraser for, I think, most of season 1, right? But why do I keep saying that? I need to double check that. Because I keep saying that.
It's just so, it's so good that anything else, just comparing it to it right now for me is just really difficult. And I wanted this to be as good. I did. I wanted this to be as good.
He's done the cinematography for both seasons.
But yeah, that guy's just fantastic.
Actually, no, just season 1, but they had someone good in season 2 then. My goodness.
But that's the one Matt's talking about. Is season 1.
Yeah, no, dude, season 1 is unreal. Come on, man.
This is a good point. This is another good point. Where'd it go? It disappeared. Oh, here
when he said that he's Space Batman.
No, it's true.
That's true.
That's a good point. But that's the first film, so it's really hard now.
It's suppressed, but don't they say she just suppressed hers over time?
Well, yeah, that's in the last what's called the Rise of Skywalker.
Or as you age and it's kind of like with Anakin, right? As you age and continue to not use it,
right.
kind of. That's why she didn't really clock it till the end herself. So when they're kids, they have less control. They're more sensitive. I don't know. That's a good point, though.
Yeah. No, that's a
good point. She's right in front of him.
Yeah, but again, that was a good piece of writing in The Rise of Skywalker where when they do the flashback scene to her and Luke when he's training her, and she decided she didn't want that life. She didn't want to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties all that up now when you think, because that was the question when I know you hate this movie, but when she saves herself in The Last Jedi, that was the question people had. Why does all of a sudden now she's using the Force?
Is it? Yeah, mainly. And don't we still believe that she Force projected Han in Rise of Skywalker? I still believe that she does that. I still believe that. So I'll defend Rise of Skywalker more than most people.
I like that movie, so it's fine.
I really like it. It hasn't aged the best. I loved it when I saw it. Now I just really like it and I really enjoy it because I think it does a lot of. It actually is so similar to this movie, which I'll talk about, and I both love them for exactly what they are, which is just the last chance to make the fans happy. Without necessarily making a whole bunch of sense or the strongest story, even though I do think there's a really good story in this one and Rise of Skywalker. But yeah, my headcanon is always that because she has a line I can still get through to him. I still can get through to him. I think she projects Han and that kills her.
Well, that would make sense, right? Because that's how Luke died. So it would make sense if that would be a good connection. I actually never even thought of that.
It makes that movie idea makes the movie Like, it almost makes most of the movie for me, is knowing that Leia did that to be able to get Kylo back.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you probably don't care, but it gives The Last Jedi a little bit more credence too, right?
We'll talk about that movie one day. But no, but that movie, when we talk about that movie, it has to be me and Paul Herman versus you and Rick. Because Rick defends that movie very impressively. You defend it very impressively. And then me and Paul are always like teeing off on it. So that has to be the duo. It's got to be like Duel of the Fates for us. Like, we have to, because we both, I think for us to debate that movie, we both need somebody else just in case. Like we both need our extra, ring buddy. We need our buddy cop to be able to have multiple areas of support.
Dude, I have so many years of talking about that movie now. Not wanting to at all either.
No, I don't want to have the time. I'm just compelled.
I never had the intention. But because I mean, even though I enjoy it, I think it's great. I understand everyone's complaints. It's not something that I say, oh, you're just full of crap, and I don't.
And what's funny is I understand why people really like it.
Yeah.
Because there are swings that are so respectable. I'm just one of those fans who, like, I just can't do. Right?
That's fine, and that's fine. Like, there's like, it's kind of like your MCU Spider-Man thing, at least up until No Way Home, how you felt about that, right? So it's very, I get it.
It's what's funny is the reasons I hate Last Jedi are the reasons I like BVS.
Yes,
we've talked very similar movies. Very similar movies.
You and I have talked about this one, yes.
And you don't like BVS, so it's kind of that other.
Yeah, but I do like parts of BVS. I just don't like it.
And I like parts of The Last Jedi. I like the lightsaber in Snoke's room that might be the best shot Star Wars thing of all time. Yeah, that movie is visually the best Star Wars film. I will give it that credit. That thing looks incredible. And I'm a big Laura Dern fan, so I love her character in there. I pretty much love whatever she does.
Yeah.
Who would have thought we would have started talking about Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, BVS?
I know, right?
How did we get here?
Oh.
Please tell me people are talking about BVS. No. Tried to go for something bigger and maybe thought-provoking. I applaud that, but I'd rather watch Star Wars Christmas Special. Fair. Luke in The Last Jedi. No one stays good in this world, Kylo. My man Reno, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, like I've discussed it with everyone in here who was talking about it. I've mostly discussed this movie, at least in one shape or form.
I don't know who I haven't. That's actually true. I don't know who I haven't talked about Last Jedi with.
It is the one movie, Star Wars movie. I mean, I'll talk about any Star Wars movie, but that one, when it comes to controversy, is definitely the one I've discussed more than any other film.
My next most talked about one, though, is Revenge of the Sith. Because I actually think, in my hot take about Revenge of the Sith, is while I still think parts of it, I really love Revenge of the Sith, I actually think it's one of the best written Star Wars movies, though. Like, the writing in the prequels is pretty wonky, but the way they start building Anakin's turn and they pay off the Emperor's stuff in 3, and the way it builds to the Order 66 and the Vader and their duel and his worry about Padme and everything, Revenge of the Sith, I think, has really good writing. It's one of the better written Star Wars movies, in my opinion.
I think the dialogue is crap, but outside of like the opera scene, which is to me one of the best scenes in Star Wars, period. Between him and Hayden. And Hayden, actually, for a guy I kill all the time, he is great in that scene.
Yeah, he's good in that scene.
It's a very good scene.
What did you think of his acting in this one?
Rito brought this up before. He's like, yeah, he still hated Christians. I'm like, yeah, I felt the same thing. Like,
I give him credit for being the same, though, right? Like, Master. I give him credit for really slipping back into Anakin. I still think he's a lot better than people give him credit. Not in clones, not in 2. That
was the first time we saw him.
Yeah. In 3, I think he's much better in Sith.
Yeah, but
it's not saying a lot. I know it's not saying a lot, but
yeah, I try not to talk about him because I get he's the one actor in this entire saga. There have been other ones who haven't been good. I'm not gonna tell you that every actor has been in Star Wars has been great or has been a great actor. Mark Hamill is technically not a great actor, but But he's one who got better with age. Like I feel like his performance from even in Return of the Jedi is better than it was in A New Hope. And like
he is I think he is great in Last Jedi.
He's great in The Last Jedi.
I genuinely think he's great in The Last Jedi.
So that, like with him, he has gotten better with age. But Hayden, to me, when I think about the names too, the people that were up for the role and that he got it, and it's kind of typical of a Lucas thing. He always likes bringing in unknowns. He says it many times. He likes bringing in these actors that aren't really big. And they continue that with the sequel trilogy. Daisy Ridley, I mean, no one knew who she was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Star Wars thing that they do. But yeah, today it didn't change my mind on my feelings about Hayden watching him today. But in his defense, he didn't do much. Like there really wasn't much.
That's fair. There really wasn't that much. Yeah.
So if they give him something more substantial to do, maybe in the next one, if they had more Anakin stuff, I'm really hoping it's an hour. I'm hoping they'll find finales.
I really hope it is too.
So we get an extra 20 minutes of show.
Yeah.
Because
I think we need it.
Yeah. Right, Reno, you're right. This is a good point. She is a good actress. I will give you
that. Why
doesn't
she get work though? That really bothers me. She's good.
She is good.
She's good in the only other thing I've ever seen her in is the Orient Express. Not a great movie, but she's good in there for the role she has.
Yeah. And the one with Tom Holland, which everyone didn't like, I thought was kind of okay. She was good in that too, though.
That's right. I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, she was actually good.
Is it better than Cherry?
Yes, we're really going off on a tangent here, but I did not. I was not a fan of Cherry.
Cherry's not a good movie. Yeah. That's why people are like very excited for that. And maybe it's more in their wheelhouse, but people are really excited for the Gray Man from the Russos with, Evans and Gosling and Anna de Armas. And I'm like, yeah, but have you guys seen Cherry? And then they'll be like, have you seen Infinity War, Endgame, Cap, Winter Soldier? Yeah, but like you had the superhero extra gravitas
and
to pull us in.
And they're also restricted because, I mean, good or bad, they're restricted into that world, right?
Yeah, and it's Feige storytelling, yeah.
Right.
Whereas, like, this is their the last time I seen them do their own thing, I was watching a camera shot of Tom Holland's beehole. I wasn't looking for that. So
yeah, that movie, it's just a terrible story. Like it's just
it's bad, and it's 2.5 hours.
It's not something you want. It's not something you want to go back to and watch. Anyway, it's a drug story about a drug addict, pretty much.
It took me 3 days to watch that movie.
Yeah, it took me a couple too
because I couldn't keep going. I just couldn't keep going. Holland was decent in the movie, but like damn,
no, he was good. His performance was good. That's one of the things that kept me interested.
Yeah,
just watching his performance.
Except when they try to make him look like older at the end with
the
mustache. Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
But all right. So let's put a bow on this.
Yeah,
we're talking about all these other things now that aren't Obi-Wan related. But it's been fun. It's been fun interacting with everyone too, throwing in your comments. So thank you once again. I love doing the live streams because you get the live interaction.
It's so much fun.
People watching, and that's always the best part because it jogs things in my mind. Like I might forget something, and then they bring up like, oh yeah, let's go to that because I did watch this episode, like I said, when I was exhausted.
Yeah.
But overall, so far through 5 episodes, I'll end on this. Like I said, I have enjoyed this story.
Yes.
Like you said, we've this issues with execution, direction. Definitely, it's not a perfect show by any stretch, but it's a good time. I've had a good time with it and revisit it and getting to see. I can say this every time we do this, but just getting to see McGregor back as Obi-Wan has been.
I'm very thankful for it. I'm very thankful that this exists. Quality aside, I'm glad we're experiencing it. I'm glad we're talking about it too. That's making it better as well. So I am thankful for it. We'll see where it stands officially next week.
Yeah, so next week, the series finale of Obi Wan Kenobi, and we will be back here to discuss it again. I want to thank again all of you guys for coming in. Nico, I want to thank you again for doing this. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, couldn't agree more. My God, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Chris, thank you. My X-Men shirt. We ended a good boat. point. That's good. All right, guys. So for Nico, I'm Eric. You're watching Straight Outta Gotham tonight, and we will see you next time.